Well, this is probably the most unexpected case of the James Harden situation, but James Harden has opted into his $35 million player option and has requested a trade from the Sixers, or they mutually agree that they want to trade. That's quite unexpected. I mean, leading up to this, since last season, after they got eliminated, it seemed like if Harden was gone, he was going to Houston, decline his player option. But slowly over time, we saw Houston get a Man Thompson, a couple more young players. It seemed like Houston didn't seem like the most realistic because they were in that rebuild, and getting an aging James Harden didn't really make much sense, even though they had the cap space. But after that, it looked like slowly but surely James Harden would return to the Sixers, even after his disappointing playoff run where, yeah, some games he put up 40 points, other games he put up 9 points. Like game 7, he had I think below 12 at least on terrible efficiency. So this James Harden saga has been quite interesting, but man, him opting to the contract and then requesting a trade. So I wonder how this happened. There's been a lot of speculation for why this happened. Maybe it was because they didn't agree on a contract. That's probably the most realistic thing. It seemed like Philly was a little bit hesitant to give Harden the max, especially on a long-term max, because we've seen Harden decline. Just a couple years ago, he was an MVP candidate. With the start of the Nets, James Harden was a legit MVP candidate before he got hurt, and then of course he got hurt in the playoffs. So James Harden a couple years ago, one of the best players in the league, and slowly he's had hamstring issues, and he wasn't even an all-star this year. James Harden slowly declined. I'm sure they don't want to give him this max on a long-term deal where his trajectory is going down, but still he is probably the best player they can get. I mean, of course there's some speculation, but the James Harden value on a trade block is honestly not very high. I mean, of course he's a good player, but everyone has seen his inconsistency. Everyone has seen his struggles in the playoffs. That's the main thing. I'm sure he doesn't want to go to a rebuilding team unless he gets a huge bag from a rebuilding team. He's not going to go there. And then on a championship team, they're not really willing to take this risk with Harden if he's not going to perform. I mean, we've seen it almost every year, especially the last 2 years. Maybe he's faced some injury issues, but still an aging Harden who's only going to get older, that's just not a good sign. But man, what are some Harden suitors? There's been reports from Woj and Shams that the Clippers and the Knicks are interested. I mean, if you can throw in the Heat, you can throw in the Suns, but starting with the Clippers, I mean, I would assume they want to pair up Kawhi and PG with Harden. Maybe they would trade PG. It really wouldn't make sense, because there's also been reports that because Harden accepted his player option, he's on a 1-year deal, no extensions for him. He's on that 1-year deal. He's to be an unrestricted 2024 free agent in a pretty much totally different market where we know that James Harden probably doesn't have much loyalty to this team unless they, of course, win the championship. But Harden being on that 1-year deal and is probably a prime threat to leave to a different team, that's not a good thing for whoever's trading for him. And for the Clippers, trading away Paul George, I know PG has injury problems, but Paul George is still nice with it. I mean, he's still, when he plays, he's an all-star caliber player. He's a good defender, and I still think that the Kawhi and PG area, I mean, there's a whole story about it, all of the misfortune, all the injuries, all of the choking that happened, but still, I would rather have Kawhi and PG than Kawhi and Harden, especially that Kawhi isn't going to even be healthy next year. He, of course, tore a lower body injury, so I really don't know. Now, there's, of course, the questions, are they willing to trade, their role players? The Clippers are one of the most deepest teams in the league, and they have, is Robert Covington on the team? I think so. Of course, they waived Eric Gordon, but Terrence Mann, Norman Powell, Zubac, maybe, a combination of that can, make up the salary, but, the Sixers really want that. I know Harden's value is not very high, but still, I'm sure you would want a star to pair up with Embiid, and we'll talk more about the Sixers later, but getting those role players, I'm sure they would help, especially if Norman Powell, decent player who can shoot. Terrence Mann, I think, can be an even better player than he was with the Clippers. Get a couple other 3-and-D players, maybe that wouldn't be bad, especially if Harden's gonna leave next year. And then of course Woj said that this is probably Harden's last game as a Sixer in the playoffs. So if that's the best they can get, maybe they'll go with the Knicks. On the other hand, I really don't know. They of course have Brunson now, so it's not like they're missing a point guard. And I really don't like the Brunson Harden backcourt very much, because Harden needs a ball, Brunson needs a ball, and it seems like from what we've seen, Brunson is better than James Harden right now. I don't think that's much of a hot take right now, but Brunson, from we saw in the playoffs, he averaged 28, 6 and 6. Jalen Brunson's legit. So and then there's reports that they would trade RJ I don't really know if the Sixers would take that, or Julius Randle. Randle and Embiid does not sound very fun, but like, I don't know. And then they of course have some picks. Maybe they can throw that in. Maybe I really don't know how I feel about this. Of course, the Knicks have been linked with like Damian Lillard, Donovan Mitchell last year, but like, is Harden really the guy? I really don't think they would be. And then the Heat, I mean, they've been in contention for star guards for the last couple years, and I really don't think Harden fits that well. Of course, when Harden was in Houston, the Heat were definitely a big candidate for him to be traded, but never happened. So like, I don't know. It's kind of interesting. The Suns, I swear, if the Suns get him, that's gonna be the most craziest thing. If Kyrie goes to the Suns, I don't know what to do anymore, because like, that would be absolutely insane, having the most amount of shot creation of all time by a crazy amount. But like, still, the suitors for Harden really aren't very interesting. There's not like one clear suit. Now, of course, NBA is so unpredictable. You never know what's gonna happen. But like, it's interesting. Then talking about the Sixers themselves, I mean, I think Maxey can. A lot of people, including me, see that he can take a bigger role. There was points where like he would be too much off ball, and of course he's a good cutter, he's a good shooter, but like, he can play on the ball, he can play with Embiid. And then you still have Tobias Harris, I guess. I mean, there's of course speculation that he's gonna get traded because like he's on that big expiring deal that I'm sure a team would take if they can get back some decent assets. And then of course have Embiid. I mean, how does Embiid feel about this? That his star is upset again and wants to be traded? Ben Simmons. I don't know. I don't really think they're gonna get much value. Maybe they will. Maybe a team is gonna be dumb, give a bunch of value for Harden, and then hope it works. But like, still, like, Embiid, he needs a reliable player. I think Maxey is really good, but like, you need more to compete against the Celtics, the Heat, the Bucks, the Cavs, those top caliber teams. So it's interesting. And then of course Harden himself, like, man, like these last 2 years, 4 different teams, 3 different trade requests. Like, of course, he started with Houston. He was, of course, one of the best players in the league in Houston. Requests a trade, and then he wants to go to either Philly, Brooklyn, or Heat, or Miami. Ends up in Brooklyn, stays there. That whole drama with them getting hurt in the playoffs, and then the Kyrie drama, and then him wanting to request a trade. KD got hurt, and then he requests a trade to the Sixers. He's finally on the Sixers, the team he wanted to be on originally. And then 2 playoffs later, 2 disappointments in the second round where they could have won those series. Okay, maybe not last year, but like this year, a total winnable series against the Celtics, they choke, and it's mainly his fault. And now he requests a trade again. Like, man, Harden's career has been absolutely crazy these last 2 years, and it's just that Harden's value is just not as high. I mean, like I said, he's on that 1-year deal. He isn't going to perform as well in the playoffs. And he has those moments where he plays super good, but he also has those moments where he's super passive, isn't willing to shoot at all. And when he does shoot, he takes heavily contested step back threes. Like, Harden is not the same player as before. So I'm really interested. I mean, this is definitely not expected, and we'll see how this turns out. We'll see if the Sixers make more moves, if the Clippers will actually make a move. I hope they don't trade Paul George for James Harden. That would be a really bad trade, honestly, for the Clippers, but we'll see what happens. Definitely unexpected, but make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on next time.